evening. This is CTV News. I'm Taylor Thomas. Governor Wes Moore wants to speed up the timetable for the state's minimum wage to hit $15 an hour. The governor, along with Comptroller Brooke Learman and other officials, met with business owners and labor leaders to talk about the Fair Wage Act of 2023. The measure would speed up the minimum wage to $15 by this October. Under current law, the state won't reach $15 an hour until 2025. The bill also adds an annual cost of living adjustment to the minimum wage.
This is what is going to make our state more competitive. This is what is going to help our state to win. Now, we know this is going to be a fight. We know this is not going to be simple. We know that this is going to take some convincing, and there's a whole lot of people who are standing behind faulty data, who are standing behind an argument that frankly doesn't hold water. But we know that when you're watching the momentum for states that have already moved in this direction, that Maryland is uniquely positioned to move, and Maryland is uniquely positioned to win, but we're going to need everybody's help in order to make this happen.
Following the roundtable, the governor testified at a hearing on the bill before the Economic Matters Committee. The U.S. Supreme Court is preparing to hear arguments for and against the Biden administration's controversial student loan debt forgiveness plan tomorrow. The plan would ease up, or erase, should I say, $20,000 owed for select Pell Grant recipients and up to $10,000 for all other federal loans. Nursing student and D.C. native Nakia Strickland says her student loan has held her up from achieving the American dream of being a homeowner.
It also affects your credit. It affects your ability, because now even trying to buy a home with student loan debt, they are, even if it's deferred and you're in school and you haven't had to pay on it yet, it still affects because they look at it as part of your debt to income ratio. So it held me up even trying to purchase a home.
The issue at hand is whether the president has the authority to forgive student loan debt. A Montgomery County Council member is proposing a bill that would improve safety for pedestrians and bikers. It's called the Safe Streets of 2023, and the bill is being sponsored by Council President Evan Glass. The bill would prohibit cars from turning right on red in downtown and town center areas. It would require that the county executive create a plan for automated traffic enforcement. The bill would also require a review of any incident when a student is hit while walking to or from school.
In Montgomery County, for the last 6 years, more than half of all pedestrian and bicyclist incidents occurred at our crosswalks and our intersections. And that's why this legislation is so critically important.
As we work to rebuild and recreate and reimagine what our communities are in Montgomery County, as we become a more urbanizing community, we talk a lot about livable and walkable and accessible communities. But they only work if they're safely livable and safely walkable and safely accessible.
The bill is expected to be introduced to the council tomorrow. Here are the latest COVID-19 numbers for our area. The Maryland Department of Health has confirmed 576 new cases. The county's positivity rate is at 8.78%. 10 Marylanders have died of COVID over the last 24 hours. 371 people are hospitalized with the virus. You're watching CTV News. I'm Taylor Thomas. Back in a moment.
For every generation, it has started with the call to serve. Discovering purpose and belonging well-earned. Fighting and winning for our nation and its people. But Marines are never really finished serving. Their commitment is visible in communities across our country. This is Semper Fidelis. Always faithful. Always Marine.
Good evening and welcome back. Prince George's County Police are investigating a fatal shooting in Temple Hills. It happened yesterday just before noon in the 3700 block of Dunlap Street. The victim, identified as 31-year-old Omar Smith of D.C., suffered a gunshot wound and was pronounced dead at the scene. Anyone who may have information about the incident is asked to contact police. If you were one of the 30 million Americans who got extra government help with groceries during the pandemic, that aid will shrink significantly starting this Wednesday. The U.S. Department of Agriculture oversees the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, commonly known as SNAP. For the average recipient, the change will mean about $90 less each month, though it could be as much as $250. Benefits will return to normal levels, which are based largely on household income, size, and certain expenses. A female inmate is found dead in her cell at a county jail. 25-year-old Hollis Davis was found unresponsive last Thursday by a corrections officer. CPR was performed on Davis and she was rushed to an area hospital where she was pronounced dead. Foul play is not suspected. Protocol requires the police department to investigate her death. Meanwhile, the medical examiner's office is conducting an autopsy to determine the cause of death. The Council on American Islamic Relations says it is applauding Senate President Bill Ferguson's support of religious freedom. The complaints come after a group of Muslim students from Prince George's were rebuked last week for not standing during the chamber's opening prayer. Senator Cheryl Kagan of Montgomery County addressed the chamber immediately after the Christian prayer, upset that the Muslim students sat quietly in the balcony.
I just want to remind everyone who's in this body that it is out of respect, out of obligation, and a hope for unity. And whether we are being ministered to by a priest, a rabbi, an imam, or a secular leader, we show the respect and we convene together before we can start our business.
On Friday, Ferguson said that no one is required to stand in violation of their beliefs. Legislative leaders plan to introduce a bill next week that would shift oversight of Maryland's college plan to the state treasurer's office. According to Maryland Matters, the bill would also wind down prepaid college tuition plans. Maryland offers two 529 college savings programs, the Maryland Prepaid College Trust and the College Investment Plan. The board suspended interest payments on prepaid accounts after an accounting glitch surfaced. Treasurer Derek Davis recently offered to move the troubled program into his office. Storm-related runoff from a new construction site has some Upper Marlboro neighbors irate. The site of Croom Road is flooding the area around there is flooding and draining into nearby waterways.
The creek beside my farm and the marsh and all the surrounding wetlands around my farm were just solid mud, just chocolate. You couldn't see through the water at all. And that creek and my marsh has not been muddy for 20 years or more. So I was a little upset, so I walked all the way up Hodgkins Branch here to find out where the mud was coming from and came here, and the mud was pouring off of this site, and it was just pouring into the corrugated metal pipes which run under the road and into the creek.
Be sure to tune in later this week for the full story. They visited a restaurant called Mr. Fry's Man, a Black-owned business in Los Angeles back in 2020. Newlyweds at the time, Portia Amofa and Yaose Owusu, loved the food so much they brought a Mr. Fry's Man franchise to Prince George's.
My husband and I got married in 2020 during the pandemic, and while we were there, my husband was looking for a barber. So he was on Instagram, scrolling, looking for a barber in my hometown, Gardena, trying to figure out who would take him this weekend. And while he was scrolling, he came across Mr. Fry's Man. We tried it and we were like, oh my gosh, this is delicious. And I thought that was it. It's like, it's good. Okay, every time we come to LA, we're gonna come and, eat here. Next thing I knew, he was in the DM of Mr. Fry's Man and was inquiring about how we could possibly bring it to Maryland.
If you want to know more about Mr. Fry's Man, be sure to tune in for the full story later this week. And still ahead on CTV News tonight, your Monday sports page. Stay with us.
Hey everybody, it's Simon Bugs, and coming up soon, I'll be talking about 4 great college games that were played this past weekend. You don't want to miss it, stay right there.
When I received the diagnosis with my daughter, my hope was gone. But when you get there, everyone's like, hey, we've got your back. We're not gonna give up. And when you see other people not giving up on your child, that makes all the difference in the world. St. Jude has been that rock to be there and support us and, you know, have our back through all of this. They saved my baby's life.
Good evening and welcome back. As fentanyl-related overdoses spike among teenagers in the area, a meeting is set for tonight to talk about the issue. The county school district will host an informational meeting on the dangers of fentanyl use and fake pills tonight at 6 p.m. at Largo High School. The community forum will discuss ways to lower the risk of overdoses. Narcan kits will be given out. Another meeting is scheduled for March 13th at Surrattsville High School in Clinton. Some Metro Rail riders can expect to see reduced weeknight service. For the next 3 weeks, beginning this evening, WMATA will be doing track repair work. As a result, there will be single tracking between Foggy Bottom and Arlington Cemetery on the Blue and Blue Plus lines. Also, single tracking will continue on the Orange and Silver lines between Foggy Bottom and Ballston. Officials say trains will operate every 26 minutes by 10 p.m.
The HBCU Legacy Bowl game was played this past weekend in New Orleans. Players from HBCUs from all across the country were selected to showcase their talents. Bowie State players Joshua Pryor and Raymond Boone were just a few of the players that were selected to represent the Bulldogs. Pryor, a defensive lineman, and Boone, a safety, both made highlight plays during the game. But they couldn't come away with a win as their team was beaten 10-3. Switching to college basketball, the PGCTV women's basketball team won their second straight regional championship yesterday. They played Butler County Community College and beat them 60-58. The Lady Owls will now advance and play Central Carolina Community College in the D3 Mid-Atlantic District Championship on Saturday. Now, the men's basketball team also took to court against Butler County Community College yesterday. They played them in the Region 20 D3 Tournament Championship. But the Owls weren't crowned champions in the end as the Pioneers defeated them 99-88. Wrapping up sports, the UMD men's lacrosse team captured their third win on Saturday. They defeated Princeton 11-5. This is the second straight win for the Terps. The Terps took control in the third quarter by scoring 7 times as opposed to the Tigers 2. The Terps' next game will be against Notre Dame on Saturday. And that is your Monday sports page. Simon Buggs, CTV Sports.
Thanks, Simon. All right, let's get a quick check on our 3-day weather forecast tonight. Rain with a low of 41 degrees. Tomorrow, cloudy through the mid-morning, then gradually clearing as the day goes on with highs around 58 degrees, then dropping into about 35 degrees at that night, evening time anyway. Wednesday, mostly sunny in the daytime with temperatures peaking at 61 degrees. Wednesday's forecast, rain with a low of 49 degrees. Thursday, rain all day with temperatures as high as 67 degrees, then dropping to a low of 40. That wraps up our CTV News for tonight. I'm Taylor Thomas. Good evening.
What would you give for a child you loved? To make their wish come true? To help them fight a critical illness? Just imagine what you'd do. Every single one of us can make the stars align, because when we come together, hope and joy will shine.